About all of the cues that we should track from an India market standpoint and all of the stocks as well. We have our research team here with the trade setup. Ekta and Hormaz are both with me now to really help you out with that. Guys, good morning to both of you. Ekta, of course, we're all watching for what really happens with HDFC Bank, but take us through everything else that we should track.
Hi, thanks for that. Well, yes, absolutely. We saw the little bit of chinks in the armor come through yesterday itself in terms of the markets, because the Nifty broke that 5-day winning streak that it had, and the advanced decline ratio was on the declining side. FIIs, however, continued to net buy, so they net bought for the second consecutive session, and DIIs net sold for the second consecutive session. So FIIs net bought around 656 odd crores, DIIs net sold around 369 odd crores. Now, in terms of the global setup, besides HDFC Bank, well, global setup is looking a bit tentative. So we had the US markets which closed lower, Asia which is weak ahead of the key China economic data, Brent crude which is little change, so around $77, $78 per barrel. So the global setup, as well as yesterday's trading session, is just indicative of maybe being a softer start for us, which is what the GIFT Nifty is indicating. Now, HDFC Bank, yes, first year-on-year EPS decline that we've seen in a decade for that particular bank, and hence there could be obviously trepidation on account of a disappointing quarter. Now, in terms of results today, that's going to be the key theme which will continue. So Asian Paints, Happiest Minds, ICICI Pru, LTI Mindtree, to name a few. And in terms of data from the US, we have the US retail sales, we have the 20-year bond auction as well. So a lot of data incoming, in terms of the US market session, which we'll react to tomorrow.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for laying out all of those cues. Let's also talk about all of the stocks that we should watch. Hormaz is here with that entire list, but Hormaz, quite the disappointment coming through on HDFC Bank.
Absolutely, and you can see that in the ADR, the way it moved overnight. It was down 7%. It was the biggest single-day drop that the US-listed shares had since April of 2022, so almost the biggest drop in 2 years. So you'll keep an eye out on that. L&T Tech also came out with results. The street was expecting a dollar revenue growth of 2.1%, came in at 0.9% sequentially, so a bit of a disappointment there as well. However, the bright side is that they've maintained their constant currency revenue growth guidance of 17.5% to 18.5%. Also reacting to results today will be ICICI Lombard, ICICI Securities, Credo Brands, TV18 Broadcast, a lot of them that came out post-market. We'll see a reaction in all of these names. Adani Energy Solutions, they shared their third quarter business update for the transmission and smart metering business, where they said that they have been awarded contracts for 2 million smart meters worth almost 2,300 crore rupees. They received these contracts through the quarter. And Piramal Pharma will be in focus because they have launched a 10 milligram by 10 ml concentration of a zinc sulfate for an injection launched in the US markets. I will keep an eye out on that. Godrej Properties has acquired another 1-acre land in Yaswantpur in Bengaluru, and that land has development potential of 1.4 lakh square feet of saleable area. DCB Bank has received the Reserve Bank of India's approval for appointment of Praveen Achyutan Kutty as the new MD and CEO from the 29th of April. And lastly, both IREDA and Indian Overseas Bank will be in focus as they signed an MOU yesterday for co-lending on renewable energy projects. Back to you.
All right, Hormaz, thanks a lot for filling us in with all of that action in these individual names. Let's also talk about the cues from the futures and options space. And Nigel is here with that. Nigel.
Well, morning, Pavitra. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, right? Who is the Nifty going to turn to? Because the IT index could be under some pressure. We had Wipro that was under pressure overnight. And LTTS as well was the disappointment in terms of earnings. While HDFC Bank will be the drag on the Nifty Bank. So we got a bit of an issue this morning. Let's see who can put their hand up and bat for the Bulls. That said, yesterday there was some sanity that returned in terms of data points. Remember, the premium on the Nifty had moved up to 50-60 points as well at one point of time. Now that's more or less strategy. It's turned into a discount. So it appears some part of the market went short in yesterday's trading session. The FI positioning, though, they're pretty much unchanged, yesterday in comparison to the previous session. So they continue to remain long with close to 66 of their positions on the long side. The PCR, we pointed this out yesterday, that the PCR has moved to the upper end of the band. And sometimes when it moves to the upper end of the band, you do see some bit of a correction that happens. That happened, right, yesterday. But now, because of the kind of action we saw yesterday, the call writing that we saw, the PCR has come back down to around 1.2 in comparison to around 1.52 yesterday. So that's telling you that some sanity is returning even on that data point. Call writers, they were back in business. 22,100, 22,050 call. Both of them added close to around 65 lakh shares yesterday. So the bears believe they're in with a chance. They want to defend those higher levels, and that's why there was aggressive writing that was seen. But today, since we're going to be starting off lower, I said let's point out a couple of support levels. One is The 22,000 put, well, that has a fair bit of open interest. And the premium on an average was close to around 120 rupees. So the first support comes in at around 21,880. If that breaks, you look staring down at the 20 DMA. The Nifty Bank, that's going to be the one that's going to come from a harder knock because the biggest constituent on the Nifty Bank is going to take a pullback. So the 20 DMA will breach that in the initial minutes of trade, but the bulls will want to fight back and maybe try to close closer to around that mark. If that breaks, then all eyes on the recent low that we saw. For starters, we start off in the red. Let's see who can put up their hand and fight for the bulls. But it's going to be a bit of a challenging day, given that it's Nifty Bank weekly expiry as well. Back to you.
Okay, let's see how that plays out. Like Nigel was mentioning, it's a 190-point cut that we're seeing on the GIFT Nifty for now. That is the trade setup as we see it this morning. We do need to